I think the piece is probably between 20 and 25 years old. The nose has dry rot. We'll have to solidify.
Elizabeth?
These cracks will have repaired.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fairly good piece. Has had use.
So that's category
B.
Mm-hmm.
I told the seminar last week that a very important new book on Botticelli had just been published in England by Ronald Lightbone, who is an official of the Victoria and Albert Museum. It's the first really important work on this subject that has been published since 1938. And the appearance of this book has rather provoked us to re-examine the Botticellis and the Botticellian pictures that we do have in this museum. And in particular, the very interesting and very question-provoking picture of the Madonna and Child that is on the wall here. When the picture first came, as a matter of fact, the first scientific examinations were conducted because the condition was so remarkable that some people felt that a picture of the 15th century from Botticelli's time couldn't possibly have survived in such extraordinarily fine state. And we decided that it was high time that we reassessed this picture with the equipment that we have now in our conservation laboratory upstairs.
The commonest idea about the relationships of birds nowadays is that they are related to very primitive types of reptiles and descended directly from things called archosaurs, which are more or less like crocodiles. But recently, an old idea has been sort of rediscovered, and the argument has developed that dinosaurs and birds are closely related. In fact, a particular group of dinosaurs, the type of dinosaurs that are popularly portrayed as being large meat-eating dinosaurs, Allosaurus and Tyrannosaurus. And these types of dinosaurs have certain characters that are in common with birds. Dinosaurs typically, particularly of this group of carnivorous dinosaurs, have 3 fingers. That is, 2 of the fingers have been lost. This loss is also found in birds. Birds, although they have a wing, actually the bony structure of the wing consists of a series of fused fingers. This feature is unique to dinosaurs and birds. Another feature is the structure of the ankle joint. This ankle joint is a curved arrangement, and it occurs in both dinosaurs and birds. The lower part of the ankle articulates on it, and it produces a fore and aft movement. Both the earliest birds and these particular small bird-like dinosaurs occur in the Jurassic period, which is about 200 million years ago, and give some credence to the idea that birds are essentially a kind of living dinosaur, that they are not as separate and unique as has been believed for many years.
I'd like you to work on the nose.
Yeah, it's in good shape. That needs to
It
be
needs to be
treated.
solidified. And this we will fill in the
Wax or
wax.
filler?
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. See, they got you stuck down in your little cubby hole as usual.
Yeah. It's been built up on the nose, so that should be this area.
We'll probably just use it as a display vehicle for the children to really learn about the Kanaga mask, and then we'll talk about some of the ways that different artifacts from nature or from the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom are used in making the mask in addition to its function and role, etc.
Okay, good.
Okay, so is there any problem? I can just
That's
take it up, or should I
that's
get
all.
Michael?
No, I think you can handle it. It's pretty light.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice one. That's good.
Take care.
How's the angle, Walter?
Hold it there. That's good.
Wedding good?
Yep.
Well, now, here's the great piece. It's coming to us as an anonymous gift. Pristine, perfectly preserved. It's perhaps one of the handsomest Fang Yi. It's got a square shape. It's Shang Dynasty ritual bronze, high Anyang style, 1300 BC.
How does it compare with our general altar set, for example?
Well, you know, we are kind of weak in this area,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, compared to the other aspects of our collection. But we do have a Fang Yi, but nothing of this quality.
No.
It's not as good as this. This will be one of the best pieces in the collection.
Where exactly do you want it?
Half an inch away from the little black rubber ring there. That's fine. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
This is a spectrum of the major elements which make up the vessel.
Can you call up a reading for a particular one?
Yes, these peaks correspond to specific elements in the vessel, and I can, for instance, ask for the program to show us where the copper peak is. The program will put up markers which correspond to the copper peaks.
So there should also be tin. Have you got tin?
Yes, we can ask for the tin. I'll remove these markers first. You'll see that there's a whole series of tin peaks right down here.
And there should be lead also?
There are parts of the lead spectrum. We can magnify that a bit so that you can see it better. This corresponds to the spectrum of lead.
What about zinc? There shouldn't be any zinc.
No, I don't see any lines.
We'll get over 1 million people coming to see Tut.
We got a lot to do here. We got a big traffic problem. You know that people are going to come in here at the end of the small gallery.
Yeah.
They'll probably go up on the balcony, or they might go
Well, how are we
across.
going to make them go up on the balcony at this
Well,
point?
I think we ought to leave a big hole here, no art at all, and start putting the art immediately at the bottom of the steps. Now, what have we got coming up over there? Number 19, it's the
19.
double case.
That's a pretty small thing to pull people around, though.
Yeah, but it's gold.
It's gold.
And have a lot of shine, a lot of light.
But from this point, we should really be focusing on,
All right, well, look-
the main
well, it
focus
has to
on
be
this
the
room
mask.
is the mask.
All right.
Let's put that one.
We've got that mask up higher than everything else, so that should be a big draw right against the photo mural of the sarcophagus being raised, which nobody else has used. That's really nice. What is that, about 17 feet long?
Let's see, 17, 18, it's about 10 feet high, 17 feet
All right.
long.
You know, I'm a little concerned about all this color, I'll tell you. The colors are good, but the effect on the balcony, I'm not sure.
Well, let's just try one of these things up here and see. How about this one?
That might be better. It might be better without any color at all. Might be better with any color at all. Let's do it. Let's get rid of the color. It's a hell of a time to be doing it. They're standing up there with paintbrushes, but I think we better get hold of them and stop the painting right now. Okay?
And they learn about Africa, and they learn what African values were, how in a society people had a respect for one another, and what their social responsibilities were. And in Africa, these things are taught through masks. Now, this is a mask which has just recently come to the museum. This, of course, was a dance mask used in funeral ceremonies. One of the things that is interesting about masks of this type, which are made by the Dogon people of Mali, is that much of their sculpture is sort of architectural in style. It has very square forms, cubistic, for example, which is a word that's used in modern art. Most people, when they go to art museums and see many modern paintings by artists such as Picasso, don't realize of what a great influence the sculpture of Africa, from olden times in Africa, has been on the modern art of the 20th century in Europe and in the United States. And this little gallery is set up to illustrate what this influence was and what it means.
Tell me precisely what you have picked up here that you didn't pick up in the old X-ray we took years ago.
Well, obviously we have more contrast in this X-ray that we took just a few days ago.
The old one's almost invisible, isn't it?
This I guess is done sometimes in the late 30s, early 40s. The white spots you have here is warm tunnels, which in a previous restoration has been filled with gesso. The little dark spots that you see here and here is the areas of losses, and they are all pinhole
really
sizes.
They're minuscule, aren't they?
Very, very small.
Those are new nails, aren't they? They don't look
Yes.
like old nails.
Yes, there have been put additional wood on both sides of the panel. This happened very often in order to fit a frame, and there weren't the same respect for the size of the painting. It's
Very informative X-ray.
Yes.
Greta, let's have a look at this under ultraviolet light. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of this age with so few damages in it. There's the one in the forehead. That's the worm tunnel that was filled. The mouth and the nose, which is the most disfiguring. And this knot down in the hip of the child.
But the original paint film is still on top of that knot.
Where do you think are the most appropriate places to take the samples?
Well, probably in the blue area.
You want to take a sample from the blue area, huh?
Let me see what it looks like. There are no restorations in this whole area, so we're pretty safe.
Okay, it looks extremely thinly painted on the surface. I think I'll really have to just take a tiny movement along the surface. I should be able to get enough out.
The most surprising results of technical examination were achieved with the use of an infrared scanner. And when we examine the picture in this fashion, very interesting things emerge. First of all, there were certain differences between the visible pattern and the first lines laid down for the design by the artist. Particularly, for example, the drawing of the feet. And then one absolutely baffling difference between the visible surface and the drawing was revealed. Instead of the pomegranate, which the child holds that we can see, there is, in the underdrawing, a flute. The child seems to be holding the 15th century equivalent of a recorder, something which no one can explain, either for iconographic or for artistic reasons. There remains a total puzzle to all of us. Someday, perhaps, one of you may find a solution. In addition, there appear in the blues and in the greens of the picture two other pigments which are just unknown from the 19th century onward, malachite and azurite. So the pigment examination, which we conducted in the laboratory, is very clearly indicative of the time of origin of this picture, when it was supposed to have been made, that is to say, in Botticelli's epoch in the 15th century.
These are not only going to be display pieces, but they're going to serve as study specimens as well. And that's why it's important to maintain the original dimensions and so on. The Buffalo Science Museum asked if we could make them a copy, an exact copy, for their museum, not only for exhibit purposes, but for study, so that they can use it as for lectures for some of their students to come in and take measurements and look at it as an original specimen. Because when we make these reproductions, we try to reproduce the dimensions as well as the surface appearance. And this is what we expect to do with the Triceratops. Try to get this rubber off without damaging the piece. This is the most difficult part because we've got one half of the mold apart. This is the time when we have to be particularly careful because this bone is very fragile, even though it's fossilized and it's 60 million years old. It still has a lot of organic material in it. It's quite fragile. The originals will go down into storage to receive conservation treatment, repair, and so on. And at some point in the future, they will return to the original mount.
Here we see the X-ray radiograph separately shot of the top and of the vessel itself.
Can you tell anything about the mold divisions? In other words, do they occur only at the corners, or are there joins also in the centers of the faces?
Generally, in Chinese bronzes, where you have the piece mold castings, you see little holes in the X-ray, or little holes that appear as dark dots in the X-ray. You see very few of them. Another thing that you do see is a number of lines that are coming down almost from the entire top into the metal itself. And this may indicate there's obviously hairline fractures in the bronze. And they indicate that the bronze is quite brittle, probably due to a corrosion process that has embrittled the bronze. There's another repair here.
No, it's in the middle of the inscription, or is it under the inscription? Or what?
Well, we have to look in a minute at the object to see on what side it actually is. My guess is that the repair is on the outside, and I assume that the inscription is on the inside of the vessel. I think when we look at the inside here, we can see that the inscription is on this side.
Yes, there it is. So the animal, whatever this is completely obscured inside the vessel.
All right, it is the same inscription as in the bottom of this vessel. Now, if we look at the other side, and we should see the actual repairs much more closely. Do you agree that it is most likely that this repair is done in antiquity at the time, probably or shortly after the manufacture of it.
They look that way on excavated pieces.
In other words, it's not a modern repair.
My name is Akoto. I'm from Africa, and I come from a country in Africa called Ghana. I would like to welcome you to our museum. We are going to talk about the uses of the African art. Now, our explanation is going to be very much based on Kanaga mask. Kanaga mask comes from Mali. Now, thousands of years ago, the Dogon people were invaded, and the Dogons had to cross a river, River Niger. And before they could cross this river, they had to sit on the back of crocodiles to escape their attackers. And from that time on, they got to believe in crocodiles. So the mask, this mask as you see it, was made in the form of crocodile. Now, I have here somebody who is going to demonstrate to show you how this particular mask is used.
Now, usually when the ceremony is done, only boys are allowed to participate. So I'm going to have to ask for some boys to come forward and help me to demonstrate how this mask is worn in the dance. All right, let me have some boys to volunteer. Can I have some boys to volunteer? All right, here, 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 and in the back. All right, come forward very quickly. All right? We need some volunteers to play music. Who would like to play the music? All right, would you like to play this one? All right. You have one musician here. And we're going to give one drum over here, all right? And we have the rattle. Let's give the rattle to the little man right there. And we have the gong, which we will give to this young man over here. All right, now, I'm going to put on the Kanaga mask, and I'm going to lead a procession of animals, and then we're going to have the musicians to come around in front of us, and I'm going to dance the way a Kanaga mask would dance. All right, let's have everybody starting rhythm together.